alaikum. My name is Robert McCaw. I'm the National Government Affairs Director with the Council on American Islamic Relations, and this is our daily Facebook Live program, The Daily Dose, COVID Conversations with CAIR. Tonight's program is titled Hurting But Helping, How to Provide Charity and Service During the Pandemic. And our co-host tonight is coming from CAIR-Georgia. She is their communications coordinator, and this is Selim.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you, Robert, for that wonderful introduction. I am so happy to be with you all today, and I just want to know how you've been, Robert. How has it been treating you?
Well, alhamdulillah, I have my job, I have my family, my brother-in-law and his family are living with us, so it's one day at a time. It's been a moment to kind of take stock of the situation, be thankful to Allah about my health, to just focus on my family and my work, and at the same time, keep on trying to fight the good fight on the civil rights side and the election from home. How's it working for you?
Alhamdulillah, it's been challenging, of course, but I think the main thing here is that we manifest what we look for. And in the midst of all these challenges, I personally have experienced wonderful things, including getting to spend quality time with my family. And my 8-year-old sister, who we have been spending all day together. So alhamdulillah, it's been really great in terms of that. And we also at CAIR-Georgia have started an initiative called the Co-Victory 20 Initiative. And basically, there's 3 phases to this initiative. The first phase was a survey. So we are very data-driven at CAIR-Georgia, and we wanted to create a platform that is based off of what people want and their needs. And then the second phase was a community forum. And basically we gathered all the information that we got it from the survey, and we took out all of the different things, the major components of what people are struggling with, and got some leaders, and they talked about those issues. And then the third phase, which we are going through now, which we just launched last weekend, what is the webinar phase. And we have webinars every weekend at 8:30 p.m. This weekend, we will have a webinar about personal finance and education, so e-education online. And yeah, we are so excited to have this initiative, and we welcome anyone to join us. It is on Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. inshallah. And I'm so excited to join you all today for this wonderful conversation.
Well, we're happy to have you, and we really do hope you can return. So just tell me, for a minute, that Co-Victory program, how's the community responding to it?
Alhamdulillah, it's been really, really great, especially because we are so data driven. We always have feedback surveys after our webinars, and everyone's been loving it. And we have almost 300 people per webinar. The community forum had about 800 views. So yeah, it's really been a wonderful experience.
Okay, well, that's excellent. Good luck, and I hope it keeps on going great. This is that point of the program where we just review some statistics, get the information out there about the current spread of the COVID-19 virus. For global cases, there has been a documented 1.5 million, and in the US, there is a report of 425,000, and there have been a number of deaths, and again, everyone's taking stock, but you have our prayers, and I just want to know, I want you to know that there are people out there thinking you, praying for you. But it's not all bad news. Saswan?
Yeah, so we do have news that the US coronavirus does have passed 14,000, but the new cases are trending down, and future projections are better than expected. So stay home, keep practicing. I don't like to call it social distancing. I like to call it physical distancing, because we're still talking, we're still interacting, we're still having these wonderful programs. So stay safe, everybody.
Absolutely. And, at this point, it's a good time to bring in our first guest of the night. He is Sheikh Shamikh Sadat. He is the director of ICNA Relief in the Southeast of the United States. And we have a couple questions for him about their operations and how we can stay safe during these times. Shamikh?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Allahumma rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa halul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. First of all, I'm very thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're still breathing, we're still alive, especially in this pandemic of what's happening here. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower His peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Well, we thank you guys very much for having me on the show, representing ICNA Relief Organization.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure is all mine. We're trying our best on the ground in ICNA Relief, and every day it gets it gets busier and busier. The more we are feeding people out there on the ground, is the more people are contacting us. Just today alone, I mean, I was out there together with my guys, and them. We fed about 200 folks in one apartment complex.
Wow.
That 80% of them have lost their jobs.
Wow.
80%.
So
And you're
so while we're hearing nationwide, just about a third of Americans have lost their jobs. Some places are definitely more hard hit than others.
Yes, definitely hard hit, and especially here where I'm situated locally in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta is my home. So far, we have done close to about 7,000 plus distribution of food to individuals around Georgia, just on the Georgia area. To give you national numbers, is about 9,556 families throughout the nation we have fed so far. Since COVID-19 happened. And I always say, I said, this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that ICNA Relief was doing this work even before COVID-19. So we were already, was that?
You were prepared.
Yeah, we were prepared. We just shift into, the fifth gear at this point, So all along with ICNA Relief, we have been doing the Feeding the Hungry program once every week. We used to do it in downtown Atlanta and several major cities across the U.S. We had our food pantries. We had, the volunteers who used to help us. Now we just kicked it at a different level. And alhamdulillah, the number of recipients so far based on the work that we did from, this number is from March 14, the day that Trump announced the pandemic officially in the United States up until today. And I'm talking about today's number. We have done about 37,882 recipients receive food through our programs that we have revolving over and over.
Just quickly, for the viewers that don't know, can you just tell us quickly what is ICNA Relief?
So ICNA Relief is one of the grassroots organizations that works only in the United States of America, that's providing services to humanity, and I'm talking about services such as we have about 8 health clinics across the country, 4 mobile clinics, to serve those who are undeveloped, underinsured, and those who don't have insurance. We also have our food pantry, about 36 across the country, that they actually they do all these food drives in. We have the women shelter across the country, 22 women shelter. So we are one of those grassroots organizations. There are many more, several programs within ICNA Relief. So we are one of the grassroots organizations that only works within the framework of the United States of America to provide relief work, and that is to take care of the poor and the needy. As the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said, he said that you're not a believer if you go to bed filled and your and your and your neighbor goes hungry. You see, so we stick to these principles, and that's 22 women shelter. We did about 45,000 backpacks for areas that children, people that have low income areas. 45,000 backpack filled with school supplies. We have one of our biggest program is a disaster relief program that we have in the United States, which we respond to over 61 natural disasters since 2001. So all of these programs that are happening, and the meal we are providing people now during COVID-19 are perishables and non-perishables. So we have chicken and meat at the food pantry, and those who want, they can come there. And for the non-perishables, we deliver food boxes to families that calls us and request it.
Wow.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, we're trying our best, we have served in since COVID-19 started, we have served close to about 136 cities we have been in doing the work. We are now getting calls from our neighboring states. So I got called from Alabama, which we were going to be undertaking some more projects in the neighborhood states that that we can do more work in. So the more we are doing is the more people are contacting the ICNA Relief Organization to assist.
36 food pantries. That's amazing work. 22 women's shelters. How are you doing all these operations? How are your volunteers staying safe?
One of the beautiful thing about our operation is that number one, we educate our volunteers before they even come on board with ICNA Relief. Educating them, and we also limit the amount of people right now that we are working towards with. So instead of having 7 or 8 volunteers for one project, now we limited to 2 to 3 volunteers. And what we have done is the employees as well, we are all taking that proper precaution. We are following the state guideline, the medical guideline that is required 6 feet apart from people, gloved. We are all gloved up when we are doing stuff, masked. We are very careful how we come in contact with people. We keep that distance with people, things like that. All we do is, the only time we come in contact is to hand them something and just step back, and it's not easy doing it, but we have to keep on top of it.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. And there is a conversation within the community as to how can they help. They're so willing to help, but they just don't know what the steps to take are. So for ICNA Relief, what would that look like for you?
So for us, for those who know ICNA Relief within their states, they can call. Number one, they can volunteer. And as I said, we are limited volunteers, so we can break up those volunteers in different days and different projects. Number two is to donate towards the organization, because right now, 100% of what's been collected is being pushed back out towards buying more food products to feed in families. Just in Atlanta alone, me and one of my friends just unloaded 120 bags of 50-pound rice.
Wow, mashallah.
And that's thousands of dollars worth in rice that we purchased,
Right.
about 3 pallets, put it that way, just one product, so they can donate. They can go to icnarelief.org/coronavirus and donate that way. And also those people who wants to do in-kind donation. I just had one donor who brought 13 pallets worth of food products, perishable, non-perishable, things like that,
Alhamdulillah.
So
Well,
these are ways people can help us at the moment.
well, I want to thank you so much for joining our program tonight. We really do hope to have you back. And I encourage everyone to support ICNA Relief. I love going to your banquets. I love seeing the work you guys always do.
Oh, thank you guys very much. I just want to put this out there that, so far within the United States, we have served close to about 556,000 pounds of food since March 14th.
That's amazing.
It was unheard of before. We used to do this in a year. Just imagine. Volunteer was 906 volunteers so far. We even have telemedicine. People can call ICNA Relief Clinic in Georgia here, and they can get tested over the phone, tele-screening with COVID-19 tests. They ask questionnaires that go into the DHS system. The doctors can call them back. We have a very robust system that we're providing all of these services, mental health counseling this time.
Before you go, do you have a website people can go to?
Yes, they can go to icnarelief.org, and they can have all the updated information over there, icnarelief.org. So definitely you guys want to check it out. You will see all the updated numbers. Every day these numbers are getting updated as much as we are doing. You will see pictures, you'll see the videos over there. You can go to ICNA Relief Georgia page and see a lot of our videos there, what we're doing locally here in Georgia. I know Sister Swanson is on my Facebook page. I think she's seen pretty much all the videos on all the communities.
Yes,
we
mashallah.
have been helping. Yeah, we have been helping a lot, and even the U.S. Embassy Pakistan picked it up, and even they did a shout out to our ICNA Relief team here in Georgia, mashallah. So alhamdulillah, we're doing as much as we can, brother.
Well,
but as much as we're doing, more is coming.
I just want to ask one quick question before you go. Okay, if you put anything on a billboard, what would you put?
If I put anything on a billboard, what would we put? We are Muslims for humanity.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, this is Sheikh, Shamikh, Sadat, and he's the director at ICNA Relief in the southeast of the U.S. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Wow, amazing work. All right, well, our next guest is Oussama Mezoui, and he is the CEO of Penny Appeal, and we're really honored to have him join our program tonight. Oussama, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Alaikum
assalam.
assalam.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah. How are you? How are
Very
things
well.
going?
Alhamdulillah, very well. Thank you for having me, first and foremost. Thank you to CAIR.
Most definitely. Hey, before we get into things, I just like knowing on a personal level, where are you, how are you, and how are things going?
I am well, alhamdulillah. We are blessed, of course, to be safe, to be at home, to be able to do the work that we do from our homes. We know it's something that lots and lots of people can't do. So first and foremost, we are safe, alhamdulillah. We're healthy, we're warm. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. So those of you who are familiar with Virginia, I actually live just outside Richmond, and our office, Penny Appeal office, is in Alexandria, Virginia, which is just outside DC.
It's a nice city.
Alhamdulillah.
So could you tell the audience, for those who've never heard of Penny Appeal, what are you and what do you do?
So first and foremost, thank you to CAIR again for the invitation. We really appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Thank you to Robert and Sister Sawsan for hosting. And also just assalamu alaikum to fellow panelists. So Penny Appeal USA, for those of you who may not be familiar, is a relief and development agency. Essentially, our mission is the eradication of poverty. And we do that through a variety of programming, both here in the US and overseas, in roughly about 30 countries so far.
MashaAllah. And, there's some misconceptions. You just don't, it's not just international. There's a lot of domestic work going on, right?
Correct. So I think you're right about the misconception, and I think it's something worth discussing. The idea that a lot of Muslim-led or faith-based or Muslim-inspired relief and development organizations are focusing overseas and are not doing enough domestically. And that's a misconception that's been out there in the community for quite a while. And as someone who's been working in this sector for now over 10 years, it's fascinating because actually, if you look at the legacy of Muslim relief agencies, both where I originate from in the UK, having worked in the UK for a while, and here in the United States, that actually the impact of Muslim relief agencies is massive on the community. And there's lots of examples of that. If you think of any local masjid that you go to from coast to coast, and some of the programs that they're supporting and that they're running, social service programs, you'll find that actually behind the scenes, a lot of the relief agencies are actually funding those frontline services, right? So there's food pantries, there's refugee assistance, there's training, there's a whole array of really essential services that are provided by both masjids and by community-based organizations. And often that funding is coming from the larger nationwide relief agencies, right? So it may not necessarily have their branding, it may not necessarily be something that we are very good at shouting about, but anyone who's at the grassroots, I think, would appreciate how much money goes into community local work by relief and development agencies. And we've seen that many, many times. If you look at all the, unfortunately, increasing natural disasters we see here in the United States, that actually helping hands are on the ground. Islamic Relief USA is on the ground. Penny Appeal USA is there. And so lots of these relief agencies, especially in the last few years, have really focused, if you like, refocused their efforts on domestic interventions, on domestic programs. And of course, COVID now is unfortunately an example of that. And having been involved in the National Muslim Task Force for COVID, I can tell you that coast to coast, there's phenomenal work happening in a whole array of different areas and spheres, often led, funded by organizations that often are maybe sometimes unfairly criticized for focusing too much on overseas.
So I do want to ask about your capacity. So how, according, at your estimation, how much funding to Muslim humanitarian organizations do you donate annually to?
of course, there's no data, so I can't talk from a, if you like, a sector-wide, right? What I can say is that if you look at COVID specifically, millions of dollars has gone in the last 3 or 4 weeks from all of the international, what are often labeled international relief and development agencies. Penny Appeal ourselves, we have committed already $500,000, and this is money that has already been spent in a very short period of time. And what we're doing is essentially a four-fold strategy, 4 programs essentially here in the United States. We have, the biggest one is financial hardship grants. Alhamdulillah, we were very successful due to the generosity of people all over the country who've went to the Launch Good campaign that we had set up in collaboration with an organization called Celebrate Mercy, an organization called ICNA, led by Imam Khalid Latif. And together we were able to raise about $520,000 in around 3 weeks. That money, the vast majority of that money has already arrived to beneficiaries. And so we've actually issued checks to families. Nearly 700 families have received checks from us to help them because they've lost their jobs, they're at home with the children. You can imagine if you're a low income household, all of a sudden you have children at home, you're having to give them breakfast, you're having to give them lunch and dinner, the bills are going up, the electricity is on, so your utility bill is actually increasing at the same time that many households have lost their revenue, at the same time that they've lost income. And so we opened up a micro grants application, and actually people can still apply. We reopened it this morning. So if people are looking for financial assistance, they can go to our website. They can go to pennyappealusa.org/grants, or just PAUSAorg.org/grants. They can actually apply for financial assistance. So that's thread 1 of our work, which is getting cash into people's bank accounts, into households, because food is really essential. Food distributions, which is our second strand, we are doing that. We're doing hygiene kit distributions, really, really important. But ultimately, people have to pay rent, people have to pay bills, people have medical bills, they have transportation costs that they need to take care of. And so our first response was committing $500,000 to financial hardship grants. We are doing food packs. We have committed now about $100,000 into food packs, as well as hygiene kits nationwide. And then finally,
just for the audience, one more time, repeat that website.
So for those who are looking for financial assistance, families who are watching tonight, who may have lost their income, who are having to pay rent, who are struggling to pay the bills, you can go to PAUSA.org/grants, okay? GRANTS. And there you will find a COVID-19 financial hardship grant. There is an application process. There are questions around income. There are questions about expenditure. Of course, there will be some documentation that you will need to upload. And we are committing to reply to those who are successful within 5 to 7 days maximum. It is on a first come, first serve basis. Of course, unfortunately, our funds are not unlimited. We have limited funds. And so the application will be open for as long as we have funds available. And it's a first come, first serve basis. And finally, Robert, just to say, how much money you receive is based on the need. There are 3 different grants that you receive based on, of course, number of children, if there's elderly parents or grandparents in the house, based on savings, based on expenditure. It's a points-based system, and people receive grants accordingly.
Alhamdulillah. And just wondering, I know Penny Appeal was one of 3 organizations that co-launched the coronavirus emergency response on Launch Good. Is that program in part funding these activities?
Absolutely. So a big chunk of the grants was funded through our collaboration with the Islamic Center NYU and Celebrate Mercy. We launched the Launch Good campaign. It raised $520,000 from just under 4,000 individual contributors. So nearly 4,000 people, actually of all faiths, right? That's something that's been phenomenal and fantastic is that in times of hardship, we do see collaboration. We do see solidarity. You know, one of the first groups to come out and support us was a progressive Hindu group. They
MashaAllah.
endorsed our campaign. They promoted our campaign on their social media. And so while it is a Muslim-led or a Muslim-inspired campaign, there has been donations coming in from people of all walks of life.
You know, just looking internationally, what is the difference between how American charities and Americans are responding to coronavirus and, let's say, the UK, where Muslims are also organizing around this?
You know, honestly, not. I mean, I think we have to give credit where credit is due, in the sense that the Muslim non-profit sector has really, really stepped up its game. And not just here in the United States, actually in Canada, in the UK, there's fantastic work happening. So if we think of our Canadian brothers and sisters across, the border, they very quickly formed a coalition involving Penny Appeal Canada, involving Islamic Relief Canada, and many of the largest non-profit organizations that came together as a national group to support those who were impacted by this pandemic. Very quickly formed a coalition. In the United Kingdom, under the Muslim Charities Forum, which is a collective umbrella body almost of Muslim-led charities, they too have formed a coalition, have come together to respond. And so we're seeing that here in the United States, but also internationally, in the UK, in Canada, organizations have really stepped up. And it's really important to mention too that think about the fact that nonprofits themselves are also facing massive financial hardship, right? And I think that's really worth exploring a little bit. So on the one hand, there is a massive need to go out there to distribute funds, distribute food and hygiene kits. We're also doing, by the way, PPE, which I can talk about later. We're coming together with Imana Medical Relief, with Islamic Relief USA, together working on providing PPE masks to hospitals that are most in need. But at the same time that we're doing this, think about the financial impact on nonprofits, right? And so as people lose their jobs, as individuals are losing their businesses, we are seeing a drop in donations. And that's completely natural, especially for those of us who are funded by the public, right? So for some organizations that perhaps receive a large chunk of their funding through institutions and foundations, they may not be as impacted immediately. But many of the Muslim relief and development agencies are funded by the public, by everyday Mohammeds, everyday Joes, right? And
Everyday Joe Mohammeds.
Right? And so it's a serious threat. I mean, this is almost existential. And we understand that the economic impact is not going to be for 1 month or 2 months, right? While
Brother Oussama, I'm so sorry, if I may, because we have to wrap up, can I quickly ask you a personal question?
Yes.
What is the inspiration behind getting into the work that you got into?
You know, I went to law school thinking I would be a lawyer. And I graduated in 2008, which was, if you like, the recession year. And for those of us who are of that generation, of that age, I think the recession in 2008 really kind of made me think and focus about what was important for me. Life is short. Your career is even shorter. And so if you're going to spend 20, 30 years in a career and 10, 12 hours a day, what are you going to spend that effort on? What are you going to spend that time on? And for me, it was very obvious. I needed to do something that was beneficial, that was impactful, that was rewarding. Now, there was no intention to go into the charity space or into nonprofit management. That happened through fate, maktub, it was willed. But the desire to do something that was impactful, I think, was there from a young age. Of course, inspired by our belief as Muslims that the best of us are those who are best to people, right? The best of us are those who serve people. And so we have so many traditions, prophetic traditions, telling us that we are only as good as we are beneficial, essentially. And so that's the, if you like, short story of how
Approximately how long have you been in this work?
I think I'm in year 12 now in terms of poverty eradication, relief and development, roughly about 12 years.
Wow, mashallah.
Just wondering, because we started a bit late, we have a few more minutes. I just want to jump into it. When I started at CAIR, it was in 2008 as an intern. I had a mentor there, Corey Saylor. He was with CAIR for, I think, 14 years. and he's gone on to other awesome projects. But he really taught me everything I know at CAIR and brought me up. Who brought you up into this sector in this space?
Oh, fantastic question. So I met a person who became a mentor of mine, who gave me my first shot, Brother Saifullah Ahmed in the United Kingdom, former CEO of many relief and development agencies, Muslim Aid in the United Kingdom, and Ummah Welfare, and Islamic Help and many other organizations. Brought me in as a very young individual and taught me a lot of what I know, motivated us, inspired us, and really let us make those mistakes that we have to make as a young entry-level employee, and really inspired us and gave us the freedom to grow. And so definitely, I have Saifullah Ahmed to thank for falling into this sector.
Oh, may Allah give him blessings for that.
Ameen.
Do you have any inspiring ayat or hadith that motivates you in your work?
Or prophetic stories.
Or prophetic stories?
Oh, there are so many. I know the time is very limited, so I know we're up against the clock. I think one thing that really inspires me is the ayah, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. Right? The idea that's very pure, that actually we give because of people's human dignity, right? We give because people deserve dignity. They have dignity as human beings, regardless. We're not looking for gratitude. We're not looking for thanks. We don't care if you're Muslim or non-Muslim. We don't care what you think, what you believe. Your very nature as a human being gives you a level of dignity that Allah has given you. And therefore, that for me makes life very easy. It's the great leveler. And we do that because, everybody deserves that helping hand.
MashaAllah. I just want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. Again, if you could tell us your website one more time, because I think it's so important.
Great. For those looking to help, for those who, alhamdulillah, are blessed, who are in a situation to financially assist, they can go to PAUSAorg, and you can find all of our programs there and support the effort. For those looking to get financial assistance, they can go to PAUSA.org/grants.
Alhamdulillah. I want to thank you so much again for joining us tonight. Last question we asked
Billboard.
Every guest. Billboard, take it away.
Oh, wow. There's so many prophetic hadiths. I think I would have a hadith on there. And really the idea that one thing that my parents used to always say to us from a young age, which is the leader of a people is the servant of a people. And I think that should inspire all of us in our organizations, in our institutions, in our work. Khadimul Qawmi Sayyiduhum.
MashaAllah. Well, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. And we hope to have you back. And, CAIR has been a proud supporter, distributor of information about Penny Appeal and Launch Good for the campaign you're doing to raise funds to feed all those people. And so I just want to thank you one more time for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Keep up the great work.
Okay. Well, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So, Sawsan, this was a really great evening. We had two amazing guests that are right in the charity sector. What are your takeaways from this evening? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just inspiring to see people who, could be at home, could be really staying in the mindset of this is really challenging, but instead we are taking our deen and going out and serving the people as the Prophet ﷺ would. And that's really inspiring for me.
Alhamdulillah. Every day I have to wake up instead to go to the office. I feed my kids. They're in the house. My wife and I were taking turns feeding them and, trying to crank out memos and fact sheets and policy reports, and then, just do our work. And it's sometimes it's hard to feel like when you're just looking at a computer, how connected we are.
Exactly.
And you heard a lot of great websites, a lot of great organizations tonight doing amazing work. They're actually then getting on the ground and helping people. So we have to figure, if we're just listening here, we're streaming, how can we support them? How can we do this? How can we do this together? So alhamdulillah, I'm
Alhamdulillah.
always inspired. Well, at this point, we're going to wrap up. I have two reminders for people. We have launched an amazing counterpart to this COVID conversation series. It's CAIR's newsroom. CAIR-Newsroom.com, where you can get all the COVID updates on how the Muslim community is responding. It's all that news centered in one place, where it's just the facts, spirituality, inspiring stories. I really encourage you, the viewer, to go to www.CAIR-News.com. And also, this is where we house all these episodes that we've been airing on Facebook. So please visit our new website. It's a great community service. And I also want everyone to tune in tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. And that is going to be for another conversation titled Inmate Advocacy in Desperate Times. And we have a great number of panelists that are coming tomorrow, including Veronica Lazor, and she's the Civil Rights Director for CAIR Oklahoma, and Deborah Bonita, who's the Executive Director of the Spiritual Noor Foundation. And we'll also be joined by Hiba Rahim with Muslim inmates, and she's an advocacy coordinator for CAIR Florida. And inshallah, I'll be joining you as well once again as co-host. So,
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Saswan.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum.
Thank you, Robert.